You walk into IKEA for one chair. Not a kitchen, not a new personality. One chair. 45 minutes later, you are standing inside a fake bedroom, holding a lamp you never planned to buy, while the exit has somehow become a rumor. This feels like bad navigation. It is not. But the maze is only the first layer. IKEA's real masterpiece has 5 levels. The arrows are level 1. By level 5, IKEA will make you do part of its job, then make you value the product more because you did it. And that final trick begins only after you escape the store. Level 1 is the path. A normal store helps you find the thing you came for. Traditional IKEA stores reveal a different sequence. First, the showroom, then the market hall. After that, the self-service warehouse, and finally, the checkout. There are shortcuts, so you are not literally trapped. But if you make no active decision, the route decides what you see next. Instead of deciding where to go, you only decide whether to keep walking. Following the arrows is easy. Breaking away from the route takes effort. Every extra minute of browsing exposes you to another product that can rewrite your original mission. But if exposure were enough, every warehouse would feel irresistible. IKEA needs more than your eyes. Level 2 is the life you could have. IKEA rarely shows you a lonely sofa under a white light. It gives the sofa a rug, a lamp, a table, books, plants, and a kitchen glowing in the next room. The display does not look like inventory. It looks like somebody's Tuesday evening. So your brain stops evaluating furniture and starts rehearsing a future. You imagine reading there, hosting friends there, becoming the organized person who somehow keeps a white couch clean. The room is selling an identity before it sells an object. That chair is no longer just wood, fabric, and a price tag. It is a doorway into a calmer, better arranged version of your life. Now IKEA has changed your mission. But imagination alone does not fill a cart. It needs one small yes. Level 3 begins in the market hall. After walking past entire kitchens and wardrobes, a $4 bowl feels harmless. So does one candle, one hook, one fake plant. Each decision is too small to trigger the alarm normally reserved for an expensive purchase. The first unplanned item also changes the next decision. Your shopping list is no longer perfectly clean. You have already added something, so adding one more thing feels less like crossing a line. That is why IKEA's most dangerous thought is not that you need something. It is that the thing costs only a few dollars. The basket fills through a chain of tiny choices that never feel important enough to stop the trip. And still, the most important commitment is not in your basket. It is a product code saved on your phone. Level 4 is the warehouse. The warm apartments disappear. Now there are concrete floors, giant shelves, aisle numbers, and flat brown boxes. The mood changes from dreaming to completing a mission. You find the aisle, you find the bin. You pull out the exact box connected to the room you imagined earlier. By the time that box reaches your cart, you do not feel like you are still deciding. You feel like you found what was already yours. Then you pay, leave the maze, and think the psychology is over. It is not. The strongest part is waiting at home, packed beside a tiny metal key. Level 5 is the work. Flat packs take up less space, cost less to transport, and shift part of the assembly from the factory to you. You save money because IKEA does less of the final labor. But that labor can create a strange psychological bonus. In a series of experiments, people assembled simple IKEA boxes, folded origami, and built Lego sets. When they successfully finished, they valued their creations more highly than comparable products they had not built. When they failed to finish or had to take the creation apart, the effect disappeared. The work mattered because successful work creates competence and ownership. That is why, after an hour with confusing instructions and one suspicious leftover screw, the finished chair no longer feels like a chair from IKEA. It feels like your chair. You aligned it, you tightened it, you rescued it from a pile of boards. IKEA saved money by giving you work, and your brain may repay that work with attachment. Now the whole maze makes sense. The path controls the order of your attention. The rooms turn products into possible lives. The market hall converts one big decision into a dozen tiny ones. The warehouse turns shopping into a search. And the flat pack turns the customer into the final worker. At every level, you become less passive. First, you follow. Then, you imagine. Then, you collect. Then, you hunt. Finally, you build. That does not mean IKEA controls your mind. You can take a shortcut, follow a strict list, buy online, or simply leave. The design works because it does not need to force you. It makes continuing feel easier and more interesting than interrupting the journey. So the real purpose of the maze is not to hide the exit forever. It is to keep you moving long enough for one chair to become a room, one room to become a future, and that future to collect a few extra objects along the way. You came in looking for furniture. IKEA gave you a story about who you could become, a trail of small decisions, and a box that asked you to finish the story yourself. And that is why the most successful part of IKEA's maze is not the section you struggle to escape. It is the part you carry home.